Good afternoon. Okay, we got to do better than this. My name is Chike Nwoffial. Just like everyone, I don't think we can thank this young lady here, this teenage lady, enough for bringing us all together. Just like everyone has said, it takes guts, but it's with guts that you really have to succeed in this life, in this journey that we call life. One of my favorite poets, a Ghanaian poet, Kwesi Brew, has an interesting short poem that he wrote. I mean, he's been gone now for about 10 years, but he said something about, we have come to the crossroads, and I must either leave or come with you. I lingered over the thoughts, but in the darkness of my doubts, you lifted the lamp of love, and I saw in your face the road that I should take. That poem resonates so much with me because, yes, he talks about love, but it was all metaphorical. Life is about crossroads, where you encounter doubts, but then you have to figure out a way to find the road to take. But it's interesting because whichever way you go, there is no failure as long as you take that step. There could be lessons learned, but taking the step in itself is the very first step to success. Today I'm here to share with you, because we don't have a lot of time, on I'm here to share with you what I call Africa through another lens. We have listened to incredible presentations, and we will keep listening to incredible presentations for the rest of this conversation we're having this weekend. One thing, if you really think deeply, that is underneath a lot of this stuff is all about stories. I run a media company. I've been fortunate. I live in California. I'm in Silicon Valley. I've been there for almost 30 years. Yes, I got there at the age of 2 now. But I also run a company based in Nigeria as well as in Cape Town in South Africa. And my business is media. We create stories. We shape stories. And we know the power of what we do. And I think I was having dinner the other day at the introductions, and I said something which I try to call attention to, that we all hear this saying every day, most of the time, that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And it is true. And so if you put on a picture, you could equate the story in that picture to 1,000 words. That's a full-blown essay. But in my world of film, 1 second of film is actually about 30 pictures, sometimes 24 pictures, depending on what format you're shooting. So if you imagine that one picture is worth 1,000 words, then you can begin to fathom what 1 second of film is worth. So how much information you're getting from there, whether you want to believe it or not, it is there. And then when we craft the film and turn it into a full-blown 90-minute film, we're talking 1 second of video. Now you're talking about 90 minutes of so-called entertainment. You can begin to understand how many textbooks or books we've given you to read, and how that shapes your understanding of who you are, where you are from, and where you're going to. I say that because the Silicon Valley African Film Festival was started pretty much based on that. For far too long, the story of my people, the story of Africa and Africans, have been told through lenses that are so far removed from the continent that it has led to historical distortions that have blurred perceptions and interpretations of Africa and Africans. And I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. That there is a certain sense of a Tarzan narrative of Africa. There's a National Geographic narrative of Africa. And my apologies to some of the NGOs in the house. The new thing now is an NGO narrative of Africa, but they all run across the same trajectory. Africa on its knees, Africa begging, Africa sad, desperate, and in total need. So we felt that all across the continent, there are content creators that are telling Africa's stories, good, bad, ugly, whatever way they are, but telling it from a place of truth, telling it from a place that is theirs to tell. And like we say, until the lion learns to talk, the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunter, because the hunter comes out of the bush and tells you these incredible tales. Only if we could ask the lion what really happened in there. But we do know that the African lion is not only talking, but is now roaring. We are now able to tell our stories. We are now able, thanks to technology and formats of distribution, distribute our stories across the world unfiltered. And so we decided to create a platform for African content creators to come to Silicon Valley every year. We're celebrating our 9th anniversary this year, and next year will be our 10th. And we, last year, curated 93 films from 29 different African countries. Stories, short films, long forms, documentaries, animation pieces, and we held conversations around these themes. We're using our film festival as a pathway into understanding, having a deeper dialogue and understanding, and introducing folks about Africa. Because, as someone who also has a business background, it doesn't matter how much your pitch is worth or how fancy your decks are. If the person that is sitting across the table from you sees you as less than, they could write you a check for $1 million and you'll be happy doing cartwheels, but you probably left $49 million on that table. Just simply because that in their psyche, you are just not there. And as it applies to those that want to do business with us, it also does apply to us as Africans. I have the privilege of visiting 20-something countries in the last 3 years on the African continent, working with young people, teaching them how to tell their own stories. But more importantly, what we also need to do is to help tell our own stories ourselves to each other so that our young people can begin to believe again. Because I can tell you, and you all know, for those of you that are from or visit Africa, that when you look into the eyes of some of our youth, sometimes it is absolutely blank. Nothing. The belief in self oftentimes is gone. The belief in their culture and the pride, the feeling of self-worth, oftentimes is missing. And so we need to begin to recalibrate and tell our stories to our young people and let them begin to believe, because therein lies the hope. Because it doesn't matter how many billions of dollars you put in the continent. If the pillars of the continent, the young people of today, do not still believe in who they are and what Africa can be, it's all going to be a vast wasteland. That's the reason why our leaders, when they have a cough, they fly to the white man's country to treat their cough. They have a headache, they fly out of the country. When there is enough resource to build the clinic, it's that same mentality of not believing in that which is yours. It comes from decades of stories that have been fed to us. And so we are working with young people all across the African continent to change Africa's narrative so that Africa can once again become fashioned and branded by Africans, so that when we do believe, then we can invite others to believe. Thank you.